Hello world, welcome, thank you for joining me. I'd like to follow on from the last video that I posted, which was discussing the nature of the ego and the nature of the two minds that each person has. One being the fear-based ego patterns, and the other mind being the higher mind, the soul, the loving essence that is the true nature of every person. And I wanted to go a bit deeper into the nature of the soul. So I described it as being perfect love, but I want to give a few more reflections on how can people really understand what am I meaning by that, and how can you experience that for yourself. And a lot of the things I have to share, I suppose, are reflections from my own experiences, from the sort of spiritual awakening, the altered states of consciousness that I have personally directly had, and so much of the teachings and the wisdom of other people who have shared their experiences that I've been guided to connect with and learn from. So, to say it in one line, the true nature of every person's soul is that you are an infinite being of divine perfection. Now, that's quite a loaded statement. So what I'd like to do is start by unpicking, what do I mean when I say the word infinite? Because the human experience that we're all having is definitely a limited experience of being a distinct person. So the energy that is the soul is actually infinitely big. It's infinitely vast. It's beyond time and space. This is how people have experiences of connecting into their access to omniscience. What do I mean by that? They can access information that, as far as we understand, they shouldn't be able to know. Things like seeing things that are going to happen in the future, or understanding things that people have said or done without the direct information being shared with them. It's knowing things that seem unexplainable. And I suppose the way to think about it, so if you took yourself, instead of taking yourself from here in the human experience where you're limited and you're having this experience of being an individual, if you zoom out instead and think of yourself as being an infinite energy, an infinite consciousness, then you're looking down on yourself as having the individual personality and experience called the life that you're in now. And the way that I would describe it is almost as though, if you imagine someone had built a supercar or an F1 car, which is, top of the range, top specs, super fast, etc., etc. And if you were to put a limiter on that supercar and it could only go 20 miles an hour, then it would be easy to not ever realize the true nature, the true potential that that machine has. If everyone else was going around on bicycles and you had the only car and it was an F1 car and it was going 20 miles an hour, your perception of that 20 miles an hour might be that, wow, this is really fast. This is really good. This is at peak performance doing 20 miles an hour. And you would never really have a perspective and awareness on, oh wow, this car is actually capable of so much more. And that's almost the perspective shift I'm trying to share with you about the nature of your own soul. Your infinite soul is the F1 supercar that has huge potential, and the finite experience that we've been having in this world of physical form is only a fraction of who you really are and what you're really capable of. And it's not until you sort of start to question and become curious and can connect with the teachings of other people who have this greater experience that you can really start to say, oh, okay, so the perception that I had of what a human is actually not all there is to know. In the same way with the car, you might then realize, okay, wow, I thought the 20 miles an hour was max speed, but actually now someone's come along, we take the limiter off the car, and wow, now we really get to know what is it really capable of. Oh. I suppose another way to think about it as well, to give another kind of reference point, is that it's almost as though the infinite soul is having an experience of this incarnation, of this lifetime, and it's almost as though it's got a laser vision focus, like a tunnel vision into having this exact moment and this exact set of circumstances. And so it's almost like, again, imagine if you were someone that had been looking through a telescope, and say you've got a telescope and you're looking up at the sky and you're looking in at one particular star through the telescope. If you had no memory of what you could see before you had looked in the telescope, you would just be assuming that, wow, I'm seeing everything. This one star that I'm looking at, you know, this is the expanse of everything that's available to me. But beyond the consciousness of this incarnation, what I'm offering to you to contemplate and to consider is this idea that with a shift in consciousness, your soul can instead bring its awareness away from that telescope, and suddenly it can take a step back and it can see the vastness of the entire sky, where there are millions of stars all in view at once, and you think, wow, how did I not ever know this was here? How did I not know I could see this whole expanse of information and beauty up in the sky? But while your eye is looking down the telescope, that one star is all that you could see, and you weren't really able to question and consider what else is there? What else am I missing? If you are in a pattern of accepting the default of the status quo that you have experienced up until this point. I think I'll maybe just leave it at that for today and focusing in on the infinite nature of the soul. And then in a separate video, I'll look into the rest of the statement I made about the soul being a fractal of divine perfection. So yeah, I hope that's helpful and just gives you something to contemplate and consider about, okay, so what more is there that we hadn't realized was possible for us? And it all, you know, change starts with having a curious nature and following your excitement. And yeah, I hope that can help people who are setting out on the spiritual journey to maybe reflect on, you know, what has been the default that I've been living in, and is this really all that there is? Or is there more that I'm yet to discover? Anyway, thank you for watching and thank you for your time. Sending you loads of love.